So here we are again, and talking about some of the instances in history, to me, that has caused not only the black race to be the lowest on the totem pole, but also people, just regular, average, everyday people. Because you have to understand that there is an upper elite that's above the upper elite that we think about. And they're playing chess, not checkers. They're talking about making moves that involve hundreds of years of destiny for people. And what we see on the bottom of it is just the crumbs and the stuff they want us to see. So I talked about last time about how the World War II affected the people and the black community, but there's a bunch of other stuff that happened right on, from about 1860s up until 1960s, bunch of movements that happened, and one of them was the civil rights movement. And I know a lot of people say, well, how did the civil rights movement cause black people to be at the lowest financial and statistical position in the United States? Didn't that help us? In a way it did, but in a way it has also been a crutch and a knife stabbing us in the back at the same time. So when we look at the civil rights movement, when people came out of slavery, what was one of the most important things that they needed to get and focused on? Education, and then going in from education into ownership. So what the civil rights did was force us from, not really force us, but take us from ownership to inclusion. So now we weren't forced to fight for our own, we were trying to be included with others. See, after slavery, you couldn't go to a white guy's store or anything like that. So the freed slaves had to look inwardly and do things for themselves. It was some of the best times for actually black-owned businesses. There's more barbers, beauty shops, tailors, grocery stores, because you couldn't go anywhere else. You had to look to your own, and you weren't dependent on anyone else. You had to make your own way. And at that time, people were producers. Those guys were sharecroppers. They go out there and bust their ass day after day to work on another man's land to get a portion of the proceeds, where they actually jacked you with that to make you buy stuff from their stores and from their people, because you didn't have your own. You had some things, but right after slavery, you still had to depend on all their stores, all their factories. So as the 1800s started to close, once again, more black people became landowners, business owners, producing their own and working with their own. That is a power that has gone away pretty much, because once the civil rights came into play, once again, the civil rights was fighting for equality, but also inclusion. So now, where's the money part come into this? Okay, so if the black folks are cutting their own hair, cooking their own food, cleaning their own houses, having businesses of their own, just like going into Black Wall Street, black folks still make up $1 billion of buying power now. Just imagine back then, when all of a sudden those people who were slaves now have money to actually spend. Instead of just the slave owners purchasing things, now these individual people have buying power. So going into that civil rights, now instead of them spending, black people spending on their own and letting their dollars circulate through their community, they fought to be included and allowed to go into the white folks store. I remember when I was growing up in Louisiana, my grandmother used to clean a house, big old plantation house, just like you see in the movies, with the big old things in the front, big old posts in the front of the house. Right across the street from this store called Winn-Dixie. Now, Winn-Dixie, black folk didn't go to Winn-Dixie. Matter of fact, black folk didn't come across that track on that side of town. There was a street called Parkinson, and then there was another street, First Street. When you go past First Street, south of First Street, and west of Parkinson, you're in the white people's town. So there wasn't no shopping there, and unless you were going there to work, you were out of place. So all of a sudden, and I remember in our little neighborhood, we used to have little convenience stores. Jubert, in some other towns, Miss Marlene. We had our own little stores to service our community because the white folks weren't there, and we weren't able to go into the white folks community to get things. So that money was in the community, even though it was harder for those stores to stay afloat because they're having to pay, 2 and 3 times more what the white stores can pay for it. They get it on discounts. These guys cutting their arms and legs trying to get the same products, but that was all you had. So now with the integration and assimilation of the black community into the white community, now all those dollars are now put towards their stores. So you wonder why we don't have any power or control. We don't control our dollars. We don't control what we wear. We don't control what we eat. We don't control what we consume on television. We are under complete control from those powers that be. And once again, I don't think, to me, looking at it deeper, it's not just about a race thing. It's not just racial, it's financial. Because when you have control, you not only control the movement of those individuals, but you also control their dollars because you're not producing nothing. Now you became a worker for someone else, working in somebody else's store, working in somebody else's factory, now being able to go and spend your dollars into their grocery stores and their tailors and their barber shops. Because now that you're included, you had to give up what you had. You had to give up what you were building on. So all those people that sharecropped and fought to be able to buy that land, now you sold that land off because I don't need to work any land. I can go work in this factory over here and make a lot more money and not have to do as much and hard labor and so much tilling of the soil. It became easy. And you always got to remember, anytime something becomes easy, it's dangerous because easy is usually not the best thing for you. It can be convenient, it can be quick, but it's usually not the best thing for you.